So you've been writing for a while, and maybe you've even published some books, but you've reached this point where you feel like you have been working on this for so long and, and it's not going anywhere. And you feel like, you know what? Maybe it's time to just cut ties, walk away, do something different. Maybe I'm not meant to be a writer. Maybe my stuff isn't good. Maybe, whatever. Let me just pull you in here for a minute and give you another way to look at what might actually be going on. Welcome to the Whispering Inkwell. Hey there. So, I heard someone say recently that they were thinking about quitting writing and that they had published several books and had another one waiting to be edited, and they hadn't gotten anywhere with any of the books that they had published so far. And they were just like, I can't do this anymore. I have done all this writing and I don't have the energy. I don't have the patience. I just don't have anything left to give to even work on marketing these books. I've been pouring my heart and my soul into these for I don't know how long. I imagine a while, right? It's not like you write a book overnight. At least I certainly can't. But they went through this whole process and they're like, I just can't do this anymore. I can't put myself into doing the marketing and all of this work. And it broke my heart for them because it is so much work, right? You pour your heart and soul and feel like you're cutting yourself open and bleeding out onto the page to release all of this worlds that are inside of you. And for what? To feel like nobody even cares? Burnout is a real thing. But here's the thing. And this is what I told them. Please don't give up on writing. Instead, maybe take a step back. Don't look at all of the marketing and, to summarize it, the business side of writing. Step back from the editing. Step back from the marketing. Step back from the promoting. Step back from all of that other stuff. And give yourself permission to just say, you know what? I'm just going to write for a while. I'm going to just sit down and write until I remember why I fell in love with writing in the first place. Until you can remember what it is that draws you to it. What about writing makes you passionate and full of enthusiasm? What is it about your stories that encaptured you in the first place? You know, we all have little origin stories, right? I could sit here and I could tell you one right now, and this is recent to me this year. I was struggling hardcore with writing letters to my son. He's far away from home and he isn't going to be home for a couple more months from now. And so this was probably 6 months before he was going to get back. And he was really struggling with being away from home. And I just felt bad because I was struggling so hard with writing letters, because it was like how many times can I be like, well, this week was exactly the same as last week. Like, nothing exciting at all happened. And I was like, is there anybody that I could even talk about? I'm like, I had nothing. I just was really struggling. And even when something did happen, I hesitated with sharing it because he's homesick, and I didn't want him to just feel like he was just missing out when he was already struggling. And I was complaining about it. Straight up, I'll tell you. I was complaining to my husband, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I feel like I need to write letters more. I feel like he's looking for more of that connection, but I don't even know what to say. I just there's there's just nothing inspiring going on. And he made this, well, it was kind of a joke, really, about how you'll see like a TV show or a movie, or I don't even know, like, where some random person is writing to somebody and they're including like the news from, oh no, my battery's getting low. Hope it'll make it. And they're including news from like everybody in town, right? Like, oh, Jenny's cousin Francis that came to your birthday party that one time, oh, well, she ran off with this guy from blah, blah, blah. And, just this sort of a rambling letter because they have nothing else to talk about in their lives. So they're just talking about all these people they know. And I'm like, well, but who am I going to talk about? Like, who is in my circle right now that has enough going on that I know about that I could even incorporate? And then, crazy, out of the blue, I was hit with inspiration because many years ago, I had stopped at a gas station and I was putting gas in my tank, right? And I was talking to myself, maybe. And I was probably complaining about the price of gas, let's face it. That's probably what was happening. When I hear someone say, "Are you talking to yourself?" And I'm like, and this head pops around the side of the pump. And it was one of my cousins. And without any hesitation whatsoever, I said, "No, I'm talking to my 7 invisible friends." And and we laughed. And I went home afterwards and I told my kids about it. And this particular son actually just latched onto the idea of these 7 invisible friends, and he thought it was great. It was hilarious, and he wanted to know all about them. He wanted them to have names. He decided he would talk to them himself. He just had such a childlike joy in hearing about these invisible friends and things. And then, like, time went by, and they kind of just, faded away. Life went on, other things happened, and I had forgotten all about it until that day when I was sitting there thinking about how to try to conceptualize, these things, and I went, "Oh, wait a second. Oh my gosh, like, I could use these invisible friends and look at my life through their lens. What's going on? How are they seeing it from this outside view?" And so I started writing letters to him from the invisible friends. And I would do like a letter from myself and then a letter from the invisible friends, like 3 different ones each time. So he would get 4 letters at a time from the different characters. And sometimes the characters would all be talking about the same thing, but they would be filtering it through their own viewpoint of what had happened. And it just became this transformative thing for me because, well, he enjoys it still. And I found myself just grabbing a hold of this with an enthusiasm that honestly at the beginning was really surprising to me, and became, honestly, after a while, this huge relief, because there was this part of me that felt like I had lost a piece of myself. I had lost a piece of myself that used to tell stories, that used to be a storyteller. And I felt like I had lost this part of myself. And in writing these letters, it was like this part of me had been just dormant under the earth, you know, just frozen, cold, hard ground. And it was like spring had finally come, and these new shoots of enthusiasm were coming through me, and I was finding myself telling people about these letters, even more so after I had an experience in a grocery store that I don't want to get too sidetracked into. But I ended up telling some like random strangers in the store about this, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool." And I had people telling me like, "Hey, you should do something with that. You should like start writing about that and sharing these stories." And so I started taking these letters, which have gradually been working in the direction of getting longer. At first, they were short because I was like, I'm not sure how this is going to be received. You know, he's all grown up now. Is he really going to like this? So originally, they were a lot shorter, but they've been kind of growing in duration. And expressiveness, I suppose, is one word. It's not really the best word, but I can't think of a better word right this second, so bear with me. But I I started taking these letters, and I started like plugging them in, information into, yes, some AI stuff, not the letters, not the words, uh, except for the Weaver scribe, but that's another story. But I put them in and like utilized the AI for the tool that it's supposed to be, and was able to generate some creative images to go along with each of these letters. And then I started putting them on my website, and I created the Invisible Friends Chronicles. And that was its birthplace there. And now it has expanded, and now I call the letters to my son letters to the entertainer, because that is the pseudonym that I have assigned him. And then I have letters from the no, letters from the traveling friends, and then the author journals, where I have taken little bits and pieces from my own journals and incorporated what they would have looked like with the invisible friends in them. And so I found this new passion for writing inside myself. So that was the origin story of the Invisible Friends Chronicles. And I think probably most of us have some kind of origin story, something that inspired us to get into writing in the first place. You know, maybe it was a story that lived in our heart, and we just kept looking for a book that had a story like that, only to realize that if it existed somewhere, you can't find it. And so you decided that you needed it in your life, and you started writing it. And maybe there was some kind of inspiration behind it. And maybe there was something else. Maybe something happened in your life that birthed the story inside of you. But regardless of how it came to pass, there was something that made you fall in love with writing in the first place, that made you fall in love with storytelling and just enjoy it and have a passion about it. And right now, if you are feeling like that part of you is just missing or broken or has gone dormant, and you just are going, I've done all of this and I just don't even remember why I like writing anymore, maybe it's time to take a step back. Give yourself a chance to remember why you fell in love with stories in the first place. Maybe even not stop writing, but slow down a little, do a little more reading. Remind yourself of why you love stories in the first place. Somewhere inside of you, God placed a spark for stories, for writing, for world building, and it's still inside of you somewhere. That candle may have dimmed, but it's not gone out. Just because you can't find it doesn't mean it's not there. Hang in there. Don't give up. Find a different way to encourage that part of you to wake up and see the world through that storyteller lens once again. Until next time, take care.